Hello everybody, my name is Griffin with Nyle Dry Kilns. I'm at our manufacturing facility up in Brewer, Maine, and we're going to talk a little bit about some general maintenance and things to check on an FD60, which will kind of function as a catch-all for our HT units as well on the lumber side. We're going to talk about air cleaning and we're going to talk about belt tension. So strap in and let's go. All right, so first things first, we're going to talk about the air filter here. Every dehumidification unit is going to have some kind of filter on it, and it's really important that this stays clean and free of debris. A lot of lumber mills, if your kilns are near a dry waste bin or something like that where you can get a lot of sawdust, or if it's wet and freezing rain, or if you're in various parts of the northern hemisphere, these can get gummed up. And if they get all gummed up and you're having issues getting airflow through them, that's going to affect your airflow over your evaporation coil, which is going to affect your water removal rate. It's going to affect your temperatures and pressures of your compressor. There's a lot of things that can be affected downstream of not having a clean air filter. So if you keep that clean and you keep it intact, your unit's going to have a much easier time of operation. And replacing this filter material is about as easy as it can be. All you do is you pluck it right out, just like that. And then if it's dirty or filthy, you can wash it out. You can kind of clean it up. You can blow it off with an air compressor and reuse it. Once you can no longer see light through it after you've cleaned it off several times, that's when it definitely needs to be replaced. But it can get a lot of mileage out of one piece of filter if you want to try to be a little frugal. If you ever get dirt or debris on your evaporation coils of the compressor itself behind these fins here, you definitely want to make sure you wash those off. You can take a garden hose, something relatively low pressure, and try to snake it in behind this screen and blow that debris off and kind of keep it clean, and then you'll get as much mileage as you can out of your compressor. So we'll tuck this back in, and then we'll start talking about belt tension. Alrighty, so now we're going to talk about checking and adjusting belt tension. If you're just checking your belt tension, you got to only open this panel on the side here. If you're looking at the filter side of the unit, it's going to be on your left. If you need to adjust belt tension, you're probably going to have to open this panel as well. So I'm going to zip them both off real quick, and then we'll take a look and see what it looks like. This is a 3/8 inch nut driver, and all these bolts on all the panels should be all the same. Alrighty, so right here we got our blower motor, we got our belts over here, and then we got our squirrel cage blower that runs your airflow over your evaporation coil and up back through into the kiln. So we'll bring the camera over here and we'll take a look. So with any of our belts and blower systems, you're going to want to tension them so they have about a 1/2 inch of movement under about 5 to 8 pounds. So this isn't a super high-tech test because I'm just doing it with my hand, but you can do a little bit of practice and make sure you're kind of pushing with the same amount of force. You want both belts or all belts, if there's multiple, to have equal tension. You basically give it a little press, make sure there's about a 1/2 inch movement. This one seems like it's adjusted perfectly, which makes sense because it's about to go out the door to a customer. So if the belt is not tensioned properly, or you check it and the belts are damaged or cracked or split and they need to be replaced, you're going to want to slide this motor a little bit and take some tension off. So we'll come back around this side and we'll show you how to do that. So to take the tension off your belts if you need to replace them, or to add tension if they're a little too loose, you would loosen these 4 bolts. There's one on each corner right above the motor mounting plate on the motor itself. It is a 9/16 inch bolt. You would loosen all those and crack them free. And then you would take 2 3/4 inch wrenches or a 3/4 inch socket, or an impact, just don't tighten it too aggressively. And there's a little nut right under here, and you would be able to crack that loose and then hold it in place. And as you unscrew this bolt, it will move your motor either tighten or loosen on the belts. So you can back your tension off if you need to replace your belts. If you're replacing belts, you always want to put them on the smaller pulley first. And you want to make sure that you take that tension off, because if you try to roll it over at full tension, you can crack internal cables in the belt, depending on what type of belt it is, and that can cause it to fail sooner and whatnot. So always make sure you take your tension off the motor before replacing belts. And then when you're ready to put the new belts on, you basically would turn this bolt the other way. It would add tension by sliding the motor a little bit, and you get to that 1/2 inch of movement at 5 to 8 pounds of pressure. And that's really kind of all there is to it. You want to make sure that you check your belts at least bi-monthly and make sure if they're cracked or stretched or split that you replace them. Always replace them in pairs, because if there's a different stretch on the belts, the new belt will have more tension and it will wear faster and you'll get less life out of it. So check periodically, at least every other month. Once you see cracks or splits or stretching, make sure you replace them. You want to make sure that as the belt comes through the pulley, it's tight on the sides. If you over tension it to tighten on the bottom, it'll actually slip significantly worse. You won't get nearly as good of a grip. Your belts will stretch faster, and you're going to be slipping on your blower system and getting less airflow as a result. So belt tension can be critical. It affects the airflow over your condenser, and it affects your airflow going back into the kiln. So you always want to make sure you keep an eye on it. And I believe that covers air filter and belt tension adjustment. So we're going to put this thing back together and get ready to ship it out the door. If you guys have any questions or have anything else you want to ask us about, feel free to give us a call at 800-777-6953 or reach out to service@nyle.com.